Уважаемые коллеги, уважаемые участники.
Colleagues, dear participants of our discussion, my name is Natalia Pochinok. I'm the rector of the Russian State Social University, head of the Chamber on Labor Relations Today. Today we're gonna discuss the technological challenges to the labor market. I'd like to introduce our distinguished speakers to us. Please, a round of applause.
Второй день таких ярких обсуждений.
So it is the second day of our debates. Mr. Zaselsky, Peter, Deputy Economic Development Minister, Acting Minister, Deputy Minister, Madam Gulaeva from North Caucasus, and our guest from Israel, Minister on Pensioners from Israel, Gila Ganiel. And Tatiana Maleva, my colleague, and a person who knows quite well what social policies are about. And I also wanted to invite Mr. Murachev to ascend the stage. He is deputy head of the Russian Union of Industrialists and Entrepreneurs, and our today's discussion is technology. And dear colleagues, mind that our language of this section is in Russian, but we'll have international guests, so interpretation is provided, simultaneous interpretation. You may grab a device, an interpretation headset. Today, the technology challenges of the labor market are relevant, and that was mentioned yesterday at presidential State of the Nation address. We need to fight poverty and seek a technology breakthrough, and that permeated all of the address of President yesterday. And everybody has been discussing the candidature of the new the forthcoming Prime Minister, a person that is well known in this country and abroad for creating the most efficient fiscal and tax service from the technology perspective, being ahead of the curve. And the labor market and the challenges that we're faced with, and something that will be in the long run and mid-run, are as follows. Number one, digitalization. It has been the buzzword, as well as the IT technology. But will the robots become a hindrance to labor market? Will lots of professions disappear or not? Will the robots replace people, human beings? And the project, which is the greater labor productivity, is one of our national projects. It is an opportunity and a challenge at the same time. Today at this panel session, we have attending all the people in charge of the labor market and standard setting, and in charge of drafting instruments that will be helping to put our huge country together. And we all need high quality manpower, and definitely we need to care for our people, which also was mentioned by President yesterday. My first question to the business community rather than the executive authorities represented here. And I'll cite a few figures, by some of the numbers. Today, Our country has very low unemployment rates. It is close to the margin of error. 4.6% is the rate of unemployment despite the huge size. But when we look at sectoral data and sectoral numbers, lots of questions crop up. Yesterday, we said that our civic chamber surveyed our people, the nationals of this country, on how to defeat poverty and improve things for the better. 90% of interviewees said that want a decent salary. And today, in this country, we have the notion of the working poor, and that phenomenon must be eradicated altogether. And we should also be able to diminish the risk of losing a job, which is the main fear of our people today and the main concern and misgiving. So all these are intertwined parts of the labour market. And the business community is the main actor of the positive change that is to happen in this country in terms of the fledgling of the labour market. So my first question would be how the business community feels about all that. Do we have sufficient personnel, sufficient manpower? Is it a threat or an opportunity? And will you comment on the digital professional track record books? And that is now applied actively. Probably you would say a few words on whether the business community is inspired with the e-work contracts. Thank you for a chance to intervene and open the discussion. I'm so glad that the rector of a renowned university respects the Russian Union of Industrialists and Entrepreneurs. It is because she is on the board of our union. Yeah, that is for sure. Definitely we need to respond to the technology challenges, us the employers and the authorities together with the trade unions. Technology challenges are quite relevant, and everybody in the business community feels that on a daily basis we see a lot of decentralization happening, and a new type of labor relations comes to the fore. Each month we see more and more novelties. We see lots of remote work and more flexible labor relations, which is becoming a reality of late, has been becoming a reality of late. And definitely the employers are to respond with the new type of work agreement to be able to provide for better flexibility. Customization is something that will supplement the usual customary practices of working in corporations and companies. You have been saying that digitalization and automation are the front age of today's technology, and business is supportive of all that, because it will be propitious to more growth and more products sold. And taking the example of the AI and its role in our lives, and robots being part of the daily routines at major companies. They are the substitutes of the human capital, of the manpower. And robots are now employed for low-skilled jobs, and they definitely oust the human manpower. Definitely you cannot replace social workers and strategic professions with robots, but for low-skilled jobs, definitely the prospect of robotization is there. So we'll have more free hands at the market, and unemployment may rise, which will be a challenge to the whole of the country. But our answer is obvious. It's not only about the social guarantees under the labor law. No. What we need is to permanently be able to enhance one's qualifications and tapping into the new technology. Just training and advanced training of personnel is something that may be a solution. It will not work otherwise. Now we're going to a new stage of technological development, and even people with a higher school diploma should not be complacent. And in the sphere of education, it also is the case. Now we start applying requirements and setting standards of professional standards and competence standards to workers. And these qualifications may be different, and they will be relevant for top managers and mid-managers. And President has mentioned that yesterday. He spoke in favor of supporting with additional measures the regional universities, and there should be targeted contracts provided for graduates to peg them to this or that company. And probably yesterday you were in high spirits listening to the address. And there may be a challenge, a response to the challenges, because not everybody may come to Moscow and pay for education, because there are not enough seats in universities that are subsidized from the governmental budget. So remote education is a boon for us, and additional training and advanced training will help us implement all those requirements, including the federal ones. Once you represent a huge union, I will ask you one thing. The 4-day working week was discussed at the Union of Industrialists and Entrepreneurs. If we see rapid technological development, and if the artificial intelligence steps in, lots of professions of in routine operations and legal support and other things may see their working load reduced, and you started discussing the 4-day week. Yes, indeed, this is a relevant topic which has been discussed by the already the former Prime Minister Medvedev at the ILO session last summer. And that was raised by him, and afterwards we started surveying and questioning the employers, and 85% thereof, as per our survey, had a negative attitude to that, because in this context, as we don't have the sufficient labor productivity market, we lag 2 times behind the average European indicators, and we're 4 times behind highly developed economies. So a 4-day week would result in lower wages and lower production output, and for sure need for hiring additional high-skilled manpower will be there for employers. Although the ILO's proposal is clear, and I'm not saying we are flatly and resolutely against it, but I'm saying that at the current stage we still need some more time. My final short question to you. Once the digital technology is actively introduced and implemented, will it bring the labor costs down? I'm talking about like the labor-related operation costs. Will the costs go down or up? What is your attitude to digital solutions like in administration and other spheres? We'll wait and see what the impact is. It may not be linear. We live in this country, in the Russian Federation. No one knows what the outcome will be, and business community advocates for the state-of-the-art technology being implemented, and we will definitely introduce e-work records, and the digital technology is here, and the HR services are now switching to a new mode of operation of how they deal with the personnel, and implementation of the labor legislation. So I hope that the advent of new technology will reduce the burden and rid companies from non-core sectors and assets, and as a result, salaries of high-skilled people and professionals will go up that add value. So, recapping, I must say that probably business is supportive of the technology advent in the labor market, and you have been saying that the income of high-skilled personnel would go up, which is a good thing, and you spoke about the ILO, and you probably mentioned something that is happening internationally. Today we are receiving the welfare minister, Gila Gamliel, from Israel. Her ministry is in charge of the digitalization in welfare sphere of Israel. They're introducing a digital platform, and my question would be to you, madam, whether this introduction of the digital platform, the implementation of the digital platform, an opportunity or a challenge for your country, and what are your expectations from that project? Over to you.
Do you want me to say only this comment, or to have all the...
You can start with the comment, and you can tell the practice of Israel and maybe overview of the international trends.
Okay, so... Okay, I'll start.
You would like to?
Yes, I think I prefer from the podium.
Absolutely.
I don't need this. Thank you very much. Shalom and good afternoon. I would like to begin by thanking our host here at the Russian Presidential Academy of National Economy and Public Administration. I'm honored to be here participating in this year's Gaidar Forum as Israel's first ever Minister for Social Equality. Today, we are living in truly historic times, and our decisions will have no less of an impact on the futures of our two great countries. The digital transformation now underway is one of the greatest changes society had witnessed since the Industrial Revolution. Swiftly and quietly, history is being written before our very eyes. The digital revolution gives us an unprecedented opportunity to improve people's lives and connect between nations by using technology's potential to provide betterment for all. With limited natural resources, Israel has always had to rely on its greatest natural resource, the human intellect of our people. In the first decades of our state, we made the barren desert bloom with orange trees and drip systems. As the digital revolution advanced, the world will rely less and less on natural resources, and the countries that wisely invest in their own human capital, in research and in development, will be those reaping the fruits of the future, becoming the strong countries of the new world. In Israel now, from cybersecurity to smart cities to digitizing government and medical services, the land of milk and honey is blooming high-tech. Through innovation, entrepreneurship, and vibrant high-tech culture, we have become known as the Startup Nation. And my vision as Minister for Social Equality is that as our society advances and as technology develops, we do not leave anyone behind. The digital revolution underway provides us this opportunity. In today's digital world, geographic distance is no longer an excuse for inequality. This is why I'm especially pleased to be leading the Digital Israel project, which seeks via the latest in digital technology to reduce these social gaps in society and improve services to the population at large. The Digital Israel National Project, which I'm in charge of, is providing both landmark technology as well as groundbreaking opportunities by the touch of a screen for both the government and the public at large. We also seek to spread the equal opportunity for all nations and among friends like you, in order to share the fruits of technology and innovation. In the field of education, Digital Israel launched a national platform for digital learning, providing online courses led by top instructors from the most respected educational institution in Israel to anyone, anywhere in the world. We have over 250,000 students already enrolled for such courses, 100,000 of them from 156 countries, including Russia. It may also surprise you that nearly 10% of our students come from Arab countries. We also offer an almost fully online computer science degree from a consortium of our top universities. Along with these opportunities, the digital revolution also presents us with many challenges, including challenge to the future labor market. Using this national platform, we are in the process of creating a digital school for career development. The labor market is changing, and there is a need for lifelong learning mechanism to limit the negative impact of these changes on segments of the labor force. Due to technology, professions and jobs require higher skills than in the past. And if we don't prepare for this and plan to teach the relevant skills, to those who need them, the social gaps will only grow. We are providing digital courses to the public free of cost, allowing them to gain new skills to manage and improve their professional careers. Ladies and gentlemen, data is the foundation of the digital revolution we are living through. We are developing a labor and unemployment database in order to facilitate the development of solutions to the various challenges which lay ahead. For example, we are creating a platform for career guidance which will help citizens access to important information and statistics regarding different professions in the marketplace, allowing them to proactively manage their career and its direction, and make database decisions regarding their future. Data will also help us as a government to set policy regarding which professions we should fund training for, what courses universities need to plan for to meet future market needs, and how the government should best invest in the development of the labor market and market growth. The tremendous digital innovations we are undergoing have the potential to narrow social economic gaps for society at large and make this world a better place. This is a win-win for every country in the world. Thank you very much.
I would like to thank Madam Minister for her remarks. Thank you, Madam Minister. And I would like to tell you that I myself started wonderful projects like the project dedicated to IT, technologies, studies, and an open format. I liked it a lot. And the project that you personally are responsible for, Madam Minister, is of huge interest because it links together universities, the labor market, concrete instruments that help drive the market forward. The ministry uses these e-platforms, online opportunities for education, covering not just the Israeli market, but also the world at large. So the ministry uses all of that to achieve spectacular results. You know, it's as in that old adage, what would you prefer, a spinner or a fish? Rather a fish. No? Of course, the spin is better because this instrument gives you an opportunity to get fish on your own. Now, I move on to our next speaker. I know that Rostrud, the Federal Labor Agency of Russia, together with the Ministry of Labor, have been investing for quite some time in technological solutions that help create one single technological ecosystem at the labor market. This system brings together those in need of a job and the jobs of the future. I think everyone who is in attendance today knows that Rostrud works together with the Ministry of Labor to set up an open, efficient platform. So, Deputy Minister, you represent Rostrud, the major agency responsible for that. My question is as follows. The challenges are there, they are clear. What concrete measures are you taken, do you intend to take to address these challenges? How is it going to change the lives of each and every person who are in need of the services you provide? Thank you very much, Natalia. Good evening, colleagues. I myself would like to talk not just about the challenges, but about the trends as a whole which we are witnessing in the labor market. All of us see that we've got the legislation in place. Even the international organizations say that the current labor code of Russia, even though it was written quite some time ago, is still quite up to date and very much relevant. And yet we see the trends are there. The first trend that we see is that business is now stepping beyond the limits of your, like the 8-hour working day. Right now, employers tell us that they want to make sure that the number of hours an employee works sometimes can be inferior to 8 hours, depending on certain factors. If the task is performed within a shorter time frame. Well, of course, this is mostly about small and medium enterprises. The labor code says nothing upon that so far, because we view it as a working day that has not been performed to the full and certain measures has to be taken. That's the old approach. Moreover, there is another trend when companies do not force employees to sit at their working place for the whole day. There is greater flexibility. Sometimes there are employees that go from one place to another. They're very productive, they're flexible, they are the source of economic growth right now. And specifically to help them, we need to make sure that their rights are protected. And we have to make sure that the law understands that you can generate value even when you are not at your working place. You can stay at home, you can be on the move, and yet create value. The ILO mostly speaks about blue collars. It says in particular that a great number of employees do not enter into contracts with physical persons, with individuals. Right now, when a physical person enters into a contract with another one, and they have the right to pay taxes to the budget, they have this special account at the Federal Taxation Services website, and this also has to be taken into account, and their rights have to be protected as well. In other words, the legislation has to evolve, it has to move forward so that we create the best possible environment, the most conducive environment to everyone, to business processes and to employees. And as far as the digital economy is concerned, this is, of course, a range of services that are set up for the convenience. This is not some kind of a hydra that is meant to scare away people. No. These are services we create for the people. That is what Natalia has said. We've got this single platform. There is 1.5 million vacant jobs. You can find it online. You can talk to human resources. And 80–70% of vacancies are absolutely real, and this platform Natalia has mentioned is absolutely free of charge. Some you can contact via human resources, sometimes you can directly contact the employer. And since this platform is in demand, it tells us that the need for such services is there. We have it. Now, moving on to other trends, many services are provided via special aggregator platforms like Taxi, when you have an app to order a taxi. And of course, this also requires legal regulation. How do we regulate legally the challenges the labor market is up against right now? There are business processes, rights of employees at stake, and they have to be protected. And our legislation has to be adapted, or it has to be given a wider interpretation within the current legal framework. Or let's have a look at the robots. This is a new trend, and this is something the government is giving some thought to. The most important legal acts have already been adopted. You know, this has taken us quite some time. We have introduced the electronic labor license, or sort of, and until the 1st of December 2020, each and every person has to send an application whether your working book, labor book, will remain in its paper form or it's gonna be turned electronically on your account at the website of the pension fund, and you'll be able to track any changes online electronically. This is certainly something that will have an impact upon the protection of labor rights as well. We're going to be involved in an information and awareness raising campaign for the employers and the employees who will not have decided due to a number of reasons. They will still have a short time given to them. If a citizen decides to opt for a labor working book on paper, still the chance will be there to get back, to go electronically. But if you've gone electronically, the law doesn't stipulate that you can back your labor book on paper. Anyway, we have talked this through with trade unions, with the employers, to talk in detail how information is transferred, data are transferred. Of course, a lot has been said about qualifications and competences. Colleagues have touched upon that today, and I can tell you that there are many things right now to be taken into account. A great many sets of professional standards are being adopted. This initiative stems not from the government but from the businesses themselves. How are professional standards formed today? There are very interesting technologies for that. Mostly we've been looking at IT companies because there is a lot of publications on the subject and there are many good CVs properly shaped, and these professional standards are being formed very fast. And this is a vibrant, living mechanism. At the request of the Russian president, we are coming up with a number of sets of professional standards on our own, in digital economy in particular, so as to join the fold, to join the process actively. And the document which we used to have is going to be brought up to date step by step. You need to understand that competences, standards evolve all the time, every second. And very soon we'll be able to look on screen and see online what competences, what standards are applied, like the coding language which is required. It's one today, but it's going to be another tomorrow. This is going to help us track the most important, the most demanded skills. You'll be able to track all of this online. These is what we're working on, and they're going to be the foundation of the future. And what we are supposed to do is to legitimize these processes. We cannot follow the old scenarios when it took us years to come up with professional standards. No, this will no longer do. There are many questions right now to be answered. The government has submitted to the State Duma a draft law on electronic labor relations. Companies that would like to do that This will help them go fully electronic in terms of their personal related paperwork. And supervision is going to be online as well. I would like to thank Sberbank. We have had a technological experiment with them. A labor inspector comes to the company and it takes him or her just 90 seconds to electronically sift through labor e-contracts and it helps facilitate the work to see if anything is out of order. This is wonderful. And sometimes you can do it yourself in an automatic fashion, and if there is anything out of order, the system automatically finds the company. This we call the self-inspection procedure. So it'll save the inspector the trouble of coming in person to the company. All of this can be done distantly, remotely. And this has to be a service. This has to be a voluntary thing, not something mandatory. If someone wants to get their salary in an envelope, well, let them have it. But we want the legislation to be up to date and to be a little bit ahead of time, I think, ahead of the economic developments, and we want services to be numerous and free of charge, and they have to be accessible, freely accessible to Russian citizens to make it convenient for them. The law stipulates that this is going to be the case. Now, at this stage, I would like to wish success to all of us. The Ministry of Labor is doing a lot to achieve what I've just described to you, and this work is supported both by the companies and by the trade unions, and what we have to do is not to lose momentum. We've managed to do a lot and implement a lot over the last 2 years. I'm sorry, Natalia, I've taken too much of your time. It's been somewhat boring, maybe, but anyway, I've talked to you about where we are at. Well, look, one robot is already active, the electronic inspector. Yes, I've given it a go. It's a machine, but it has managed to supplant many people. Well, 120,000 inspections, that is the number of inspections Rostrud conducts every year. Over 3 years, companies have gone through 600,000 inspections on their own. It used to be people who conducted those inspections. No. A citizen files a complaint and an inspector comes in response to that complaint. No. The thing is, employers are acting more prudently. Before a planned inspection, to be in compliance, they conduct self-inspections. We want to achieve prevention, not correction, and we are making headway. Alexander Vasilievich has left us, but my question is as follows. Everything is going to be transparent. We're going to have this electronic labor book, electronic labor relations, electronic labor contracts, remote labor contracts are going to be modernized, and they will be amended as people want, and it's going to be hard to imagine salaries in an envelope. Aren't businesses afraid that they will have to pay salaries as per the law? Maybe there is some conflict involved. What do you think about that? You know, this is a very acute issue we're up against. Mostly it lies in the field of economy. These platforms mostly posture themselves as information platforms, but we understand all the connections involved. So the greater they're transparent, the greater the legality. Have a look at how well the law on self-employed is working. It used to be an experiment, but right now increasingly greater number of people volunteer to pay the taxes of their own volition. I meet with self-employed people. I ask them what's the level of taxes that they pay, why do they need that, and they say that if they go legal, if they go full wide, it's far easier for them as self-employed to enter into legal contracts with legal entities. So it all stems from the need. There is a need on each side to do that. And that is what pushes them towards legalizing and legitimizing their labor relations. But those who want to get salaries in an envelope at the cashier's desk, but legally they can get that. If they want a paper labor book, they have to be given the chance, and no one should interfere with that. If they want to go to cycle in from Voronezh to get the fish, and well, it's their choice. They can do whatever they want. There are many cases like that, sometimes absurd cases, which push us towards digitizing and formatizing labor relations and labor contracts. And it's very important not to compel anyone against their will. Otherwise, these processes will never take off. A short question. Young people, the youth, our future lies in their hands. There are some good platforms there, but there is another field for work, that is setting ties and connections between young people and employers. And as far as I understand, Rostrud and Ministry of Labor are also on the verge of finding a technological solution that is going to link the young people with employers. It'll render legitimate and transparent the mechanism for internship, for finding a job, and very soon maybe it'll be the case that a graduate of university is not going to end up without a job, but with a diploma. I know that this is a work in progress. It's too premature to say whether that is going to be a success, but still, this is the beginning of a new year. Maybe at an education institution we have to mention that. We've already launched this service for internship, and this is well known, and this is the path we are supposed to follow. And there are some experimental things like an apprenticeship contract. Sometimes we get questions from employers asking why they are supposed to use only the e-signature. We're going to have a look at the practice, at whether that is possible, and I think we're going to expand this thing. There needs to be some positive dynamics in that regard. We support this idea. Thank you very much. I know that you and Madam Minister have to dash because you have other engagements at the forum. I'd like to thank you. Thanks a lot. Bye. But we are going to still continue with the session, and I'm going to switch places because I'm a little bit tired standing. You're all seated, and I'm the only person standing. We still have enough time to talk in particular about the issues on our agenda. There is a global issue which is as follows: whether Russia is threatened with technological unemployment and how does the rest of the world cope. We're always trying to create a cushion, safety cushion. Can we do that? Yeah, Tatiana Mikhailovna, it is you I would like to address this question to. We started with the minister, but you as a scholar, as a person who follows that, you will be able to provide us with statistics and with your scholarly assessment. Thank you, Natalia Borisovna. Indeed, from time to time, we become frightened together by this technological unemployment stemming from the fourth industrial revolution. Even though science cannot tell us clearly what this fourth revolution is, maybe it's not the fourth, maybe it's the sixth. Well, anyway, this is not the fourth, the first technological revolution we are undergoing. Well, at least three we have already seen. The first through the steam engine, then assembly line, and the third technological revolution was brought about by computers, and there have been spikes and exponential increases in productivities. Not a single of these revolutions never brought about any mass unemployment. Well, yes, there was mass unemployment, but it was not exponential. It only brought about changes in the labor market and the balance between different types of labor. It also brought about changes and the duration of the working day. Is this the end? No? Can we say that since it never happened in the past, we cannot say that this is not going to happen in the future? No, we should not be light-hearted. We should have a look at the situation around the fourth industrial revolution. However unwilling we are to admit that we're not the pioneers in this technological revolution, we're not the leaders in technological development, but we have a chance to look at other countries that were pioneers, that are far further ahead towards this edge. Is there going to be an exponential mass unemployment? No, so far we see no collapse of labor markets, no exponential growth of unemployment. Even those countries that see a more rapid technological development, and the rest of the world, as a matter of fact, we see that unemployment is not growing. On the contrary, employment is growing. What does it signify? It means that, as a matter of fact, that this new technological stage brings about a redistribution of functions. Some jobs are becoming obsolete, but not jobs only. Some functions are being automated or roboticized, and the job itself takes on additional responsibilities or functions. So jobs are being transformed. They undergo changes. So what are the threats of technological revolutions? You know, these phobias, they started to pop up after 2013, when it was assessed and estimated that 47% of jobs in the US could be automated and roboticized. Well, yes, 47%, that would mean a collapse when you say that the jobs are going to be replaced by robots and everything is going to be automated. Yes, that was a huge challenge. But then when they looked closer, they understood that this automation, it was somewhat different. And not 47%, 9%. Then they recalibrated, and it turned out to be not 9, but 5%. But in any case, as we can understand, there's not going to be a mass exodus of people from employment into unemployment. And in that sense, we can say that scarcely is it possible that the new technological revolution is going to push people from the jobs. But people, the workers, they're going to be different. Employees are going to be different because standard types of employment are undergoing changes. They go into the unconventional. Unconventional, as we are accustomed to understanding it, is something inconvenient. But the thing is, unconventional types of employment are going to be conventional very soon in terms of remote, seasonal, just temporary, freelance types of employment. Now that the technologies are developing, these are going to be conventional jobs. So what the previous speaker has said means that sooner or later we'll have to revisit the legislation as well as the methods for regulation. But in what way is this technological revolution different from the previous ones? The previous ones, first, they happened and then society came to grasp the implications, whereas the current revolution is sort of a phenomenon. First, we have realized that it was on the cusp of coming, but it has not yet arrived. We found this robot and all that. All these anticipations of a technological breakthrough have been there for 15 years or so. And I've met a robot in the street in my country, but not even in my country, but outside either in other countries. And I do not see that the robots have brought about fundamental changes in my life or in the life of society. The anticipation have been running for so long that we can say that in any way there are not going to be some tectonic shifts or changes everyone speaks so much about. They're not going to happen at all. Now, let me get back to the Russian labor market. What are we to expect? First, I would hate to sound alarmist, but since I'm a scholar dealing with a wide range of issues, we publish the monitoring of the social economic state of affairs, and I can tell you that many factors of social development have a negative trend recently, like the income that is decreasing, demographics is very bad in terms of the birth rate, there is a collapse, life expectancy is growing, but not at the rate we wanted to, and so on and so forth.
And me being the editor-in-chief of that monitoring has always had the lifeline, which was the labor market, and we always stated that the unemployment has been falling. But you know, it is a formal standpoint, and the market is not limited by the characteristics in the number of jobs. There are always also qualitative parameters. The salaries grow at very low rates, and which is unsatisfactory for a country that may try to kind of get out of the woods of recession. And our recent edition of the monitoring has shown that despite the unemployment has been falling, and our low definition is that unemployed are those in search of work and not having work and ready to assume a job. But if we look at the official data and kind of look at the number of people who are not in search of a job, these are desperate people. They have got weary of their search. Who are they? They are the covert unemployed. They are the hidden unemployed, and if we add those, it means that we are growing in the number of unemployed at the end of the day. So the labor market is not looking up either, and it has started feeling the demographics and the shortage of manpower, and that impact will be on the rise in the future. We are now in a demographic. What about the elderly ones and the older generation? We are talking this spaceships and digital technology, but are we leaving those older workers behind? No, it's not about we're experimenting and piloting that and nothing changes. We are witnessing several developments at the same time. For the first year, the labor age, the retirement age, pardon me, will be postponed, and more and more labor market workers and participants of third age would grow, which means that we are aware that it helps reduce the deficit, and structurally the workers in third age don't have all those competences of the younger ones, and what it will boil down to, apart from the technology revolution, apart from postponing the retirement age, our labor market would not register open direct unemployment. It has been so for the 30 years. Everybody has been avoiding laying off people officially. Does that mean that we are on the safe territory? No, it does not. You have to pay anyway by quality in our case. It is not about unemployment or employment, but about worse salaries. So technology shifts that result in new high-paid competences and leads to polarizing of the labor market, and lots of manpower will switch to the services and auxiliary personnel, low paid, and will be lagging behind. I mean, the third age workers will be lagging behind the young ones in competences, and we see that the peak of the salaries are at 30 to 35, and there is a plateau, a flat line. Afterwards, the salary starts declining after 50. So we can see risks like the technology shifts that can segregate the society into the high-paid, mid-paid, and low-paid. And the later retirement, will also have an impact on the heterogeneous salaries. And our market is prone to resolve all the issues by reducing wages, not by laying off people. My last point would be, and I mentioned that the labor market responded to the labor productivity. The debate about the working hours is a special topic. I will not repeat all the rationale voiced earlier. But anyway, the future of the labor market probably will not be about the working hours, but rather about flexible and non-standard and various forms of employment. and we cannot even fancy contours of many of things that will be coming. Probably we should turn to Mr. Petr Zaselski. Mr. Zaselski has been in charge of the labor support project. He has been administrating one of the key projects for the economy, raising the labor productivity in mid-sized and big companies. Results in the growth of productivity and entering new markets. Now we are talking about the labor market. Technologies and greater productivity will reduce the number of people employed as a result or not. We don't see new jobs appearing. How will we handle those who will lose their jobs? Labor productivity is a composite thing. It comprises the human capital quality, investment level, and technology level, and infrastructure rate, and many other things. So it wouldn't be tantamount to the labor market. And the labor productivity it would not be kind of proper to measure the economy with the yardstick of labor productivity. It's a good thing that we are at low level, but it's a bad thing that we are at a low level, but it is so good that we have room for advancement, and the new government will face lots of challenges of how to raise the living standards and improve the economy, and some of the goals will be in contradiction with each other. And that contradiction may be reflected with the topic of productivity at an enterprise. And whether harmonizing all these things are a part of the national development plan, and our project is titled Labor Productivity and Employment Promotion or Support. And there is a set of measures with the participation of the Ministry of Labor, and we had to go back to the micro level, go down to the micro level, because you cannot resolve the unemployment from the capital. And 1,200 enterprises have become participants of the program. They will be able to use free of charge consulting, cheap loans, and all the knowledge and the database. And we also have a track to support employment there. The employment centers must be modernized and updated. And a colleague has mentioned that today. Apart from that, advanced training is an important undertaking. We first wanted to learn people new jobs, and I saw the compendium of new professions, but the demand for them are inexistent. Well, among the enterprises we work with, but they kind of want their workers re-equipped to retrain to adjacent professions, or what is in need is the extension of competence lists for a specific person, because As regards the labor market, the robotics must be a thing to consider. What happens if everything is robotized and automated? I think now this issue is bloated. In this country, we have 5 robots per 10,000 people. In Singapore, 800 robots per 10,000 people. So we have a long way to go. And I think that it will not be a systemic influence on the labor market in this country currently and in the near future. We are to find and detect all the disbalances, or probably some of the enterprises should be switched to other types of items and goods they manufacture. We should switch some of the companies to exports, and we can provide backing in all the competences and find partners for them, because sooner or later you reach a ceiling. Probably sometimes we buy at the cash still some of the things that we don't need but that are quite cheap. It is also a problem for the labor market. So sooner or later the global demand, this cap on demand becomes a problem. Once you face that, there is no use, no need in buying robots. Anyway, these are the things that will not happen tomorrow. Those goods that are cash till are made in China mostly. And the new jobs compendium is so far not enjoying demand. And at the end of the day, it's quite heartening. Some of the professions I don't even know. I heard them for the first time, but I have no idea what it's all about. It is not about professions, but about competence. What are your requirements? Will you tell me what professions are popular and what competences are needed? What is needed is the extension of competences inside the one profession, like working professions, like a welder, like the new metals must be merged, welded together. And these may be absolutely different metals, or probably the vision strategies for 3 to 5 years. It is something most companies lack. Our goal is to come up with a forecast of whether some labor markets would disappear, some professions would disappear, but among our companies that are participants of our project, there are no layoffs, but rather more people are hired. So far, their productivity level is so low that they rapidly raise the sales at this point. It is a fact, a universal fact. So we talked the globe, we talked our country, and now let us get down to earth and talk problematic regions. Once we start talking about donors, there are some of the regions that merit attention. And Olga Rukhulaeva is a participant of our session. She's in charge of a macro region which is of importance. It's the North Caucasus. It is absolutely unique. In terms of demographics, it is the only region that has the natural increase of population. And the life expectancy there is good as well. They have endeavor-going and deeply rooted conservative traditions, and there are very many other good things about that region. Why not cite them as a role model in many respects? But the labor market is a problem there, and there are no major enterprises. There are few major enterprises where you could scale up all the instruments of yours to see huge results and outcomes. They mostly have resorts, agriculture, and SMEs. Olga Vladimirovna, I would ask you a question about the trends and challenges of the labor market in your macro region, which is difficult and interesting at the same time, and the technology challenges in this country. Is it all the same? Or do you have some peculiarities and customized approach? You have noted quite aptly the peculiarity of our region. Now we have the highest density of population in this country. 50% of people there live in the rural area, and 45% of goods shipped were produced by individual entrepreneurs or SMEs. But this is similar to European states. We don't think it is a tragedy, but rather an opportunity. Technology challenges are kinda uniform to all. More advanced technology would result in layoffs, but for us the challenges are different. Those people living in the rural area look at some of the spheres that are local, like tourism and agriculture. For us, technology is not a challenge, but an opportunity to unlock the potential. RANEPA not long ago carried out a program on digital transformation, and we paid a visit to China and saw the Taobao platform project. It united all the residents of a village in China, and they got a chance to sell what they manufacture and produce across that country. We would definitely want a similar tool. It will be quite handy. And in this country we are launching a platform which would be similar to the TripAdvisor, but it will provide the guides and the local residents to promote themselves and attract clients among tourists. And this is our one of our lines of activity. This year a law was passed on social entrepreneurship, which is another promising niche for the North Caucasus, like the landscape, the natural environment, and the conditions in that region are propitious to some peculiar industries development. And in our region we have the highest unemployment rate, and working on, well, in a remote mode would be part of the solution, and our residents would be able to work remotely from home for high-tech companies across the country. And this talk that we're having today is of importance. It's not accidental. It's not factitious. Now we're thinking a lot about how to resolve all that. We will be working the development of the labor market, and rest assured that the technology challenges for us are not only challenges but also opportunities at the same time. Thank you. It is indeed a positive chord. I mean, like difficult and problematic regions may have great future lying ahead. They need to raise labor productivity and establish new ties between the government and business and the local community. And they need to invest in education. Mr. Murchev mentioned that. And qualifications must be developed. All that is quite upbeat, and we become more confidential and more confident that we shouldn't fear the new jobs appearing, and everybody will have an application. And our people must find themselves in a context that will be propitious for them to work, to raise children, which is the focus of the country's leadership. I wanted once again to state that our future is in our own hands. And I'm sure that next year we will be able to take stock of the work done, and we'll be able to assess the new technology and new formats like the e-work record and the new style of remote working and the labor for all or the job for all platform or e-employment contracts, apprenticeships and internships, and employment for youths and third generation. So it is all quite promising. So dear colleagues, thank you very much for your participation. Thank you for your interest and being the host, the moderator. Tatiana Mikhailova, I would like to yield to Tatiana Mikhailova. You represent the host, the RANEPA establishment. Will you recap our debate today, our discussion today, what we'll be able to do in the year at next forum? You know, Natalia, instead of the final words, I'd like to say that a person from the room wrote a very good question, jotted down a good question, passed it to me, stating, "What should we do, Tatiana?" It may be either someone young or a journalist. So what shall we do against and before all these challenges? And I'd like to conciliate you. It's always quite easy to say what should be done when we are saying that the compendium of new professions is still irrelevant. We must not be oblivious that professions probably will fizzle out, but instead competences will be the most important pillars. And we know the types of activity that are becoming popular, and they are at the crossroads of professional knowledge and the aptness to communicate communicative skills. So it's not only about vertical domain or vertical skills. You should also be knowledgeable of horizontal ties and links, and you should be able to swap professions and switch from one to another. And those people will have the upper hand that received training that definitely promotes their mobility, facilitates their mobility. So keep learning. Thank you.